The moment the video begins, the screen is almost silent, and for a split second you might wonder if you clicked the wrong video, but don't blink. Because what you're about to witness is the kind of moment that only happens once in a lifetime. Before we begin, if stories of impossible dreams, raw talent, and life-changing moments move your heart, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because stories like this remind us why we believe in miracles. Now listen closely, because the second this man opens his mouth, nothing will ever sound the same again. In a small coastal town in the Philippines, where tin roof houses bake under the sun and children grow up learning survival before dreams, lived a man named Miguel. He was poor in the way only those who have truly struggled can understand, not just lacking money, but lacking options. Miguel grew up sleeping on the floor beside his younger siblings, listening to the radio his father found in a junkyard. That radio barely worked, but one night, through the static and crackle, a voice came through that sounded like it was singing straight from heaven. It was Elvis Presley. Miguel didn't know English well, didn't know who Elvis was, but he felt something shift inside his chest. From that night on, he would sing softly to himself while sweeping streets, fixing fishing nets, or selling cheap snacks just to help his family eat. Life didn't give Miguel time to dream. His father passed away when he was young, and his mother worked endlessly, her hands cracked and bleeding, her eyes always tired. Miguel quit school early to work construction jobs, often going to bed hungry. But no matter how hard the day was, when night fell, he would sing. Neighbors sometimes laughed. Some told him to stop embarrassing himself, saying dreams don't feed families. But there were others, quiet ones, who stopped to listen, confused by how this poor Filipino man somehow sounded exactly like Elvis Presley. Years passed, and hope became something Miguel carried quietly, like a secret he was afraid to speak out loud. One day, a friend showed him a video on a cracked phone screen, America's Got Talent. Miguel saw people like him, nobodies with big dreams, standing on a stage that looked bigger than his entire village. When he saw Simon Cowell judging, cold-faced and impossible to impress, Miguel almost laughed. He thought, someone like me could never stand there. But that night, he sang Can't Help Falling in Love under the stars, and for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine it. Getting to America felt impossible. He had no money, no connections, and barely spoke English. He borrowed, worked double shifts, and even sold his motorbike, the only valuable thing he owned. His mother cried when he told her he was leaving, not because she didn't believe in him, but because she was terrified of seeing her son's heart broken. Before he left, she hugged him and whispered, "Even if the world doesn't hear you, I already know who you are." The AGT audition day was overwhelming. Bright lights. Endless lines. People with flashy outfits and confident smiles. Miguel stood there in worn clothes, hands shaking, heart pounding so loudly he thought the judges might hear it. When he walked onto the stage, the audience barely reacted. Simon raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "What's your name?" he asked. Miguel answered softly. "And what's your dream?" Simon continued. Miguel swallowed hard and said, "I just want my mother to stop working so hard." The room fell quiet, then Simon said, "Okay, whenever you're ready." The music began, and Miguel closed his eyes. The first note came out, and instantly the atmosphere changed. Gasps rippled through the audience. Heads snapped up. Simon leaned forward. The voice was deep, rich, and haunting, pure Elvis. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. It didn't sound like an imitation. It sounded like a resurrection. By the second line, audience members were already standing. Judges stared at each other in disbelief. When Miguel hit the chorus, Simon's jaw literally dropped. When the song ended, the silence lasted a second too long, then the entire theater exploded. Standing ovation. Screaming. Crying. Simon stood up slowly, shook his head, and said, "I did not see that coming, at all." He admitted he was shocked, genuinely moved, and called Miguel's voice once in a generation. The golden buzzer wasn't even necessary, the moment had already turned into history. Backstage, Miguel cried like a child. He called his mother, who dropped the phone when she heard his voice on TV. For the first time in her life, she cried tears of relief. No matter what happened next, her son had been heard. Miguel's journey didn't magically erase his struggles. He faced criticism, pressure, and fear of failing on a global stage. But every time doubt crept in, he remembered the floor he slept on, the radio that changed his life, and the mother who believed in him when no one else did. Each performance was not just a song, it was a thank you, a prayer, and a promise that by the end of the season, Miguel may not have just won a competition, he won something greater. He proved that talent doesn't care where you come from, that dreams don't ask permission from poverty, and that sometimes the most powerful voices come from the quietest places. So if you're watching this and feeling invisible, unheard, or too small to matter, remember Miguel. Remember that one moment can change everything. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs hope today, because the next miracle might be closer than you think.